Manchester United 1, Fulham 0. Manchester United go top of the table, and we don't know how many times we'll get to say that this season. 1 game, 1 win, 3 points. Joe McGrath, Scotty, Ronaldo Brown is here as well. Get your thoughts in the comments. You know what?
We're back, baby!
I wasn't
Savory boys!
I wasn't expecting everyone to do that. Bloody hell, that's horrible.
Because that was so unscripted.
Like. Do you know when it's a dog's birthday and everyone starts singing happy birthday and it doesn't know why? That was what it was like for me then. Scotty, I'll start with you. Not the most dominant of games, but did you see signs there that we're taking a step forward from last season, or what did you make of that performance?
Yeah, I think we deserve more than a 1-0 win, really. There were chances at the end there where Garnacho should have scored. Fernandes had a couple of chances that he should have put away in the first half. I thought the press was mightily impressive in the first half and the last stages, but we still got them same problems with the ball coming over the top and not being able to defend them. Yep. And we did ride our luck a lot in the second half as well. Still got problems with strength in depth, but you've got to look, it's a work in progress. 2 defenders on that we signed in the summer have started today. Clean sheet. And Zirkzee got a goal.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I really enjoyed the first half. Well, after the first 15 minutes was a little bit interesting because Fulham looked like they were enjoying themselves a little bit more on the pitch. I still think United had a little bit of nerves in those first 15 minutes, but once we settled and our press was really high, I thought we played really well. Like, I thought United in the first half played great, and Bruno had 2 great chances, should have scored. We'll reflect on them. Could have been 2-0 at half-time, and no one would have batted an eyelid. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Then we did the classic Man United thing by struggling to get into the second half. Fulham then making the most of that second half, and then it felt like we were on the back foot in times. What happened then is, substitutions were made. Zirkzee gets his first time on the pitch for United. Garnacho starts playing. And although Garnacho wasn't the greatest, he still causes a little bit of mischief for the defenders. Yep. The goal, good finish. 1-0 United. I'm happy.
Yeah, me too. I'm
happy. I think it wasn't the 10 out of 10 performance we'd won, but happy.
Yeah, I think in that first half, let's go back to the first half a little bit, because obviously we'll get to the goal, we'll get to the result. But first half, Ronaldo, first 15 minutes, a little bit cagey, Fulham maybe the better side. Did you see signs though after that United are sort of doing things slightly different, or maybe implementing that press slightly more kind of, I don't know if the word adequately is right, but they seemed like they were a bit more used to doing that almost. It felt like that was within them a bit more.
I think in the first 15-20 minutes or so, Fulham were probably the better side, but even in the first 15-20 minutes I saw a better kind of pressing intensity and structure from United, and I think it told after the first 20 minutes. I thought the final 25 minutes of the first half, Fulham couldn't get out. We basically camped in their half. I thought Bruno and Mount especially as setting the tone and the tempo for the press was brilliant, and I thought the structure was a lot better than last season in pressing. People will say that it wasn't the perfect performance in general from United, but I think there were positives to take. I think there were things that were different in a positive sense from United towards last season, and there were some things that were slightly similar. But for me, I saw more than enough to be encouraged that I don't think things are going to be absolutely perfect straight away to begin the season. I think the start of the season is important for us to get results more than anything. Yeah. And I thought we saw really good performances from Mazraoui. I think he came in and he was extremely solid. Yeah, really solid debut in a new league. He hasn't had much of a pre-season as far as I know as well, and I thought he was brilliant. And I think he almost looks good enough where he's going to be able to keep someone like maybe a Delon on his toes almost. He's not going to just come in, be a rotational piece, be a shoe-in at left back. He's got enough quality to put pressure on some of our full-backs, our left back or right back, and they won't afford to get complacent. I thought Maguire was also really solid today as well. There were definitely positives. I thought Casemiro almost looked a few years younger today as well.
Well, let's talk about Casemiro a minute, because I thought that, like you said, he looked a couple of years younger. This felt much more reminiscent of the first season of Casemiro. For me, he was man of the match. We're going to get a poll in the comments. Pardon me, who was your man of the match? Get your comments in. Your votes in. But just on a few stats from Casemiro, he made the most passes of anyone for Manchester United. He made the most defensive actions of anyone with 11. That includes 1 interception, 6 ball recoveries, 6 blocks, 4 clearances, and 2 tackles won as well. He made the second most duels, won the second most duels of any United player as well, only behind Kobbie Mainoo. And not just that, but there were times in the first half where he was our sort of danger man. That ball through to Bruno Fernandes that wasn't an obvious easy ball. Bruno was making a run. He was still behind a cluster of players and he found that ball into him in the 6-yard box, putting him one-on-one with the keeper. It wasn't a perfect performance from Casemiro, but when you think of some of the ones from last season where it felt as though we'd seen a legendary player kind of have his powers stripped from him, it felt more like a competent, high-level defensive midfielder to me today. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of performance that we actually signed Casemiro for in the first place, and we were talking about it on the live, is that if there's anyone at United or in football at the moment that sort of earned enough to maybe go out to the Middle East and get a nice payday and put himself out to pasture, and wind down his career, it'd be Casemiro. You'd expect that to happen after the performances last season, after getting dropped in the FA Cup final. What's he done instead? He's knuckled down.
Yep.
He seems to have got a lot trimmer, and then putting a performance like he did today. And I wouldn't want him to go anywhere if that's the sort of performance that we can see him week in, week out.
Yeah, Joe, I just want to get your thoughts in a second, but before that, hit the like button. Let's get to 1,000 likes. If you're watching, there's less than 1,000 likes. Please hit the like button. Just want to hit you with a few stats. Because we saw last season so often the stat lines of United 20 shots conceded, 6, 8, 10 shots on target, XG conceded of 1.52. Today, 10 shots conceded overall, which is sort of half the number that we'd been seeing last season. Only 2 on target conceded as well. 0 big chances as well for Fulham. I'm not quite sure how they sort of judge that metric. Presumably it's an XG kind of threshold. But no big chances. Just thinking back to the game, there was no gilt-edge chances. There was no one-on-ones with Onana. No. They also only made 0.42 XG the whole game compared to United's 2.5.
Yeah.
That was, in terms of chances created, if you put those stats into a computer, rolled that dice 10 times, United win that game almost every time, don't they?
Yeah. I was just reflecting a little bit on last year's first game for Man United. It was again a 1-0 win at home to Wolves, but that game we were doing probably a review where we were talking about getting lucky. Whereas I think Onana had his first Premier League game for United that game, and there was that moment where he could have given a penalty away to Wolves, and it was shaky. Mount wasn't too good in his first debut, but you look at it now. Against Fulham, you've got Mazraoui and I know De Ligt only came on for a little bit, but they've got a clean sheet, and you've got our debut striker scoring a goal in the Premier League. So it is quite I know the results are the same, 1-0, 1-0, but it feels more positive today.
Can I just back that up a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you know how many shots Wolves had in that game?
How many?
23 shots.
Yeah, it's a lot of shots.
To the 10 that we conceded today. And obviously teams can score goals out of 10 shots, but that was a 23 shots conceded game against Wolves that we won 1-0. This is a different 1-0 to that, isn't it?
100%. I think we were great value for the victory today without being perfect, but I don't think we should be coming into these games expecting perfection. I thought today's performance was, in entirety, was more than good enough to start with, and a good platform to move forward. Because I think very rarely are teams firing straight away at the start of the season. You need to set yourself for stalls to almost develop and move on. We've got a lot of new players to integrate as well. We're trying to almost like revamp the structure and the system a little bit, and I saw improvements in certain aspects. There's going to be occasional hiccups within a game. It's 90 minutes of football against Premier League sides where teams have got enough quality to cause you problems throughout it. So it's not going to be 90 minutes of domination as people may expect or may require to kind of praise the performance. But and if I'm being honest, like Fulham had dangerous moments and sometimes where they sprung on us. But realistically, how many gilt-edged chances can you remember Fulham having today? I don't think they really did.
No.
So, and I think we could have scored a couple more. I think it's obviously more than enough to be positive, and people often know that I can be quite scrutinising when it comes to United. But I think we take the 1-0, top of the league. We can obviously play a little bit better. We can get better performances from certain players. But I think I saw some good things, and obviously, even Garnacho came on and wasn't his best really, but he still got an assist in the end,
and should have got a goal as well.
Even we got a 1-0 today with Bruno Fernandes, who's probably our best player, not being that great.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether that was probably down to the fact that he was a bit out of rhythm because he started false 9 instead of in his natural position with Mount maybe. But for me, we take the 1-0, we work out a few kinks, we can be better, and on to the next one for me.
I think we can't forget that we should have won 2-0 as well with Garnacho's opportunity at the end.
That was ludicrous.
I mean, we got literally gifted a golden opportunity. I mean, we can debate who was in the wrong there, but I think Garnacho should have buried that. I know it's tricky pass from Rashford. We get a little bit lucky with a defensive mistake from Fulham.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that we should be talking about Man United 2, Fulham nearly.
Yeah.
So it's like,
at least. Like Bruno was through on goal twice. Admittedly, he had to rush his shots because he didn't have a lot of space, but it's him and the goalie and no one else in front of him 2 times, and they didn't go in. Garnacho has essentially an open net from 12, 13 yards out, and it's ended 1-0. Just on this poll then, because we've got a man of the match poll in the comments. Who was your man of the match? Mazraoui at 44%, Casemiro at 40%, Fernandes at 15%. So Mazraoui's man of the match, Casemiro close behind. Just your thoughts on Mazraoui. Were you impressed with him down that right-hand side? Did he do what you thought he would? Did he do more than you thought he might?
I didn't know much about him, to be honest, before he signed for United, so it was my first time sort of seeing 90 minutes of his performance. But he looked very accomplished and comfortable in that position.
Yeah.
And obviously, one of the reasons we said goodbye to Wan-Bissaka was his agility and and ability down the side. I'd like to see more sort of link-up play with him and Ahmad, if that's going to be a consistency. I didn't see enough of that. But yeah, it was an assured performance, and there was very little flaws to pull out.
Yeah. Just another player there, that the only player that in the comments people have said, why didn't you put this guy in that man of the match poll, is Harry Maguire, who I thought was very good tonight. I mean, there was times where you see him, he's got, they're counter-attacking, it's 1-on-2 almost, and he gets a little block in there to win possession. But even take that to one side, I talked about this in the watch-along, when we're pressing high, and I thought our press was as good as I've seen it in parts today. Like, actually looked like a competent press where we all knew where the triggers were, we all pressed in good unison, and we forced them into mistakes. Not just winning the ball back, but like I said on the watch-along, a lot of pressing is forcing the opposition to go long, to take low percentage out balls, and I thought Maguire did a very good job of winning those out balls. That's one thing he's one of the best, and I'm going to say it, in the world at, is in the air. Just winning duels, he's fantastic at it. So I thought when we forced them to go long, we saw Maguire's strengths there, and I thought that if we keep playing in a system where the press is genuinely good, and instead of Maguire having to run back towards his own goal, he's running toward the opposition goal, winning headers, we can hopefully continue to see the best of him. Because I think, whilst I give him credit for how well he played, I think the system and the structure allowed him to play better. The same with Casemiro. I do think that the system and the structure actually looked competent and cohesive tonight, where so often last season you're going, what is the system? What is the structure? Did you feel like we saw a bit more of an obvious, there is the fingerprints of this coaching team in this performance?
Yeah, it definitely looked structurally better, 100%. And I thought Maguire definitely deserved to be in the poll for man of the match ahead of Bruno. I thought Bruno didn't have I thought there were quite a number of players that were probably better than him today. Even Zirkzee's cameo, other than the goal, he looked really, really tidy. He looks as advertised. Someone with a big physical presence, but can link the play very well. Very tidy in possession, almost makes people around him better. And I'm excited to see what he offers if he does actually end up starting games up front too. But I saw things to be positive about from a defensive side of things. I know there's, on occasion, people are saying that when our press is beaten, we're a little bit more exposed. But people need to realise all the best teams that press extremely aggressively, it is very boom or bust, where when you do achieve it, teams can't get out. You've got them pinned. But in order to press aggressively, sometimes if the Premier League teams can do, because they've got enough quality, if they do get through that, you are going to be exposed, because you need to be very, very aggressive in the way that you commit players forward. You can't have it both ways. No. So people need to almost take a little bit of that side of it, because that's always a possibility. You'll even see that when you watch the better teams in terms of City and Arsenal when it comes to pressing, when people break through. You just need to make sure it doesn't happen often. Yeah. But for me, I thought, as you said, Maguire was brilliant. I thought the finish from Zirkzee was class. I think Rashford actually tried today. Sometimes his quality was a bit off, but from like a body language and a work rate standpoint, which he's often criticised for, I thought he was on it today and he looked engaged. Yeah.
So especially with that team celebration at the end, it says a lot when you've got every single player, massive smiles on their face, running towards the Stretford end, smiling, hugging. It felt like quite a united team there.
It did. We need this. We need this. We need a little bit of positivity and momentum to take into the next game. Get your chats in. Get in the comments. Johnny Knapp says Zirk off to a good start. Up the Reds, up the Paddock. Fergal McClement says Ronaldo grabbing his scythe and reaping souls after he's finished today in that hoodie. You had your hood up before. Little Grim Reaper vibes to it. I quite liked it actually.
I don't even know why I'm hoodie on. It's the Magnum, I tell you, man.
It's the Magnum. It's gone straight to your head. Gone straight to your hoodie. Tegan Lamon says Mazraoui, excellent. Good to have. Good start. Have to take chances. Definitely. I think we should wrap it up there. What a fantastic start. I mean, 1-0. Good performance from Manchester United. Room to improve, like you said, Ronaldo. But what I wanted to see before the game was a Man United that looked like they had a bit of direction, a bit of instruction. It looked as though we were seeing a coaching team's ideas being put forward on a pitch for once, for good portions of that game. It wasn't perfect. There's loads of places we can improve. But to me, that was a much better performance than last season. And half the shots conceded of last season. That's nice, isn't it? It's nice. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Ronaldo, for coming on as well. Thank you to everyone for watching at home. Manchester United, top of the league. We're not about to sing that very often, but we can sing it tonight. Thank you for joining us. Hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be hearing from Stephen Howson very, very shortly as well. We'll see you in a bit.